And we'll change the order a little bit. So we're going to do Asiampa, Vulture Peak, and then Festival, and then the high school, and Virtual Academy. So Ms. Carissa is up first.
There you go.
Yes.
No, I was just pointing at Jeremy because he
Oh,
was ready to
okay.
go.
I'm like, what are we doing? All right. Good evening, members of the board, superintendent. Here to present our school improvement plan. All right, we got the one screen.
Brilliant idea is to have them.
Yeah. Huh? I like, you don't have to look at me. There you go. So we are continuing with our big, hairy, audacious goal of becoming a model school for meeting all of the needs of students. And we're going to take a look. I know you have my full report. We're going to take a look at some of our demographic data. And we're currently sitting around 290 students. That does include our preschool students. I think we had about a dozen officially in the tuition-based preschool. And our free and reduced, as you can see, as people are submitting their forms again, that number is going back up, which is traditionally what we've seen in our past. So I think it's a truer reflection of our population. Our EL students, you will notice a pretty significant jump there from last year, 45 students. We've been bringing in a lot of kiddos, kindergarten through 5th grade. So if you see Miss Lands, give her a big pat on the back because she's doing an amazing job. Also notice a pretty significant jump in our students with special needs. And we've had a lot of new students moving in, and a lot of them are moving in with individual education plans already in place. So we've got our hands a little bit full going on there, but we're ready for it. So in preparing our school improvement plan, it's something that we look through as a whole staff and kind of whittle it down and fine tune it through leadership team and our site council. Lots of data is looked at to figure out what we need to be looking at. And coming up with some goals that look very similar to last year, because you know you can't just achieve those goals in 1 year. That would be silly, right? And we are working hard to increase our reading proficiency on any way that we can measure it. That is a school-wide focus. So everybody is on the page that as an elementary school, our primary goal is to get students reading. We've got that great letters training that's been occurring all of last year, and it's continuing to this year. And I can attest that it is a regular part of teacher conversations when they're working in their professional development teams, and when they're making decisions about what strategies to use and what to implement with students. Additionally, we've got a lot of English language learners, so we've got to have goals that reflect their needs. And it really is probably beyond just the EL kids. We have a lot of kids that are deficient in rich vocabulary. So really making it purposeful in what we're targeting in the classrooms in talking about vocabulary. Cadence is one of our great measures. We get lots of discrete information. It's a finer picture than we get off of our state testing. State testing is that bigger picture of the state standards, and a cadence tells us what are the discrete measures that show how a student is progressing in reading. So we've gathered the data. We've had data team meetings already, and each grade level has very specific targeted goals that start with their grade level and then move to the school level. So we're all moving toward the same vision of what we need to be doing. So that's that about the strategies and identifying those specific reading goals. Continuing with our goal from last year of reducing our office referrals. This says 10%. Last year, we reduced our office referrals by about 66%. So it was pretty fabulous. So it's nice for a principal to get to do some things other than office referral discipline. So We are getting better at identifying the needs of students and identifying strategies to help them be successful in the classroom. And the underlying goal behind the with our implementation of PBIS and everything is our goal is to keep students in the classroom receiving instruction. So as we came together at the beginning of the school year, we had some great conversations. I am so excited about our team at Hacienda this year and their dedication and willingness to really dig in and look at what is it that we need to be doing for students. So we're looking at being very specific with our small group instruction. So, providing that big picture instruction and then pulling those smaller groups to work on specific needs of students. And then also increasing that engagement of learning in the classroom and making sure that we're not just relying on raise your hand and one student responds, but everybody's getting a voice in the classroom that gives more opportunities for vocabulary development and holds more students accountable to the learning. Okay. All of our professional learning committees, our communities are calendared. We have specific times that we meet. I work with our special ed department really hard, especially with our numbers going up, but that if they have a need for a second grade teacher to be at an IEP meeting, they need to do it on a day that they're not having their PLC, because that is a priority item. So to the extent possible, I can tell you this year I've attended, we're 8 weeks in, and I've already attended a lot of 7:15 IEP meetings. So what's nice about that is they're done at 8, period. So there's no going till 5. So we're working on really protecting that time and making sure that we all understand that there's a purpose behind coming together, that we're not just coming together and, talking about the rough day, but what are we going to do to make the next day better, right? All right, other universal expectations, these are things we agreed upon just to make sure that as a school, again, we're working on common language and working on some basic instructional setting kind of things that move students forward, that we're not accepting that the paper is completely ineligible, right, or eligible. It's been a long day. Making sure that we're responding with complete sentences, taking the question the teacher asked and then flipping it and making it the response. Everybody's working on that. And I can tell you I was in an evaluation this morning and I saw exactly that happening in the classroom, along with the small groups and the choral responses and everything else. So lots of great things happening at Hacienda. I'm very excited to see us grow. So, any questions?
Randy?
No, good report. Thank you.
Susan? Or Sandy? Go ahead.
Sandy?
Carissa's. Well, it has nothing to do with this presentation.
Sure.
I'm just gonna make a quick comment.
Sure.
In the big
Big
picture,
Mhm.
on the side, you had shown the percentage of increase and the decrease.
Oh, mm-hmm.
And I like that, because
Oh.
it made it pop out as to what's
Oh,
going
in
well.
the
and what-
report?
Yes,
Yeah.
and what's going well
Good.
and what needs work, and
Yeah.
so I really,
Yeah.
I appreciated that.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. Yep.
Susan?
Oh, well, it wasn't part of your presentation, but the Acadian scores from August, in my opinion, were really good. I mean,
There were some really
For
shining
your-
spots.
yeah,
Yes.
for your-
Yes.
beginning of
Mhm.
year grading, to
Mhm.
already show some, yeah.
Mhm. And I think that's a reflection from last year coming forward.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
and I think
excited.
Overall, we've seen these improvement plans now for, lots of years.
Lots of years.
But
Mhm.
like the organization and the structure and everything just keeps getting better and better, and just in using everything that you guys have learned. And I mean, and this may be just me, but I think, the 4-day week and having your PD Fridays and like just changing the whole structure of your PLCs, it seems to be making a big difference.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I'm excited to look deeper at, always next year's data.
Yeah.
How'd we do? Yeah.
Anything else? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, we can keep that going forward through the year. And hopefully that the 10% decrease in referrals to the office means that there's better behavior and they're just not sending them to you.
Right, and that's an honest thing, Ron. Yeah, that's definitely something to look for and make sure that we're just hiding them in the back and dealing with things that need to be dealt with in the office. I 100% agree.
Yeah, anyway, okay. All right.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? Just, out of the cheap seats, okay? All right, then Vulture Peak.
Mr. Alexander, could we wait just a second? It's my understanding that the live feed is not working. Mr. Malio is trying to listen live, and
Oh,
is the live feed working, Jeremy? Mr. Malio just sent me a text message saying he doesn't think it's working. So maybe somebody out there in live land can text us and tell me if they hear me talking.
Jeremy. It's just gonna.
Would you quit logging out?
I'm listening to you tell me that Mr. Malio just sent you a text saying it's not working.
And it's on live? Okay. All right. It's okay now, he says. Okay. Okay.
Jeremy.
He dialed in the right number. Okay.
Jeremy.
Okay.
Lost again.
No internet again?
It's the operator.
Yeah, it works. It's saying working here, so.
Nobody else. Just doesn't like you.
Well, that's okay.
We have. It's
Not
probably
everybody
time to
does.
look at upgrades.
Well, we've had these a long time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, we have. All right. Yep, I just wanted to change and see if it's going to move. Maybe it's thinking
Yeah.
presentation.
Since the
There you go.
DVs are behind us.
Don't touch anything, Sandy.
Okay, it's back. Every time we go to a new thing, it disappears.
Okay, I think our technology's working, so you're back on.
All right, thank you. Good evening, board members, Dr. Medini. I'm here to talk about our school improvement plan for this year. And our BHAG is we are wanting to go back to an A-rated school by the end of this year, or next year actually, because we have a lot of work to do, but we feel like with the plan we have and the things that we have implemented, that it's a attainable goal that we're very excited to work toward. Here's our demographics, and you can see our numbers for our students have gone down. I double-checked the number. It's still at 142 as of today. You can see our free and reduced, and I think Ms. Hershkowitz also mentioned that we have more parents that are filling out the paperwork, so our free reduced is very high this year. Our numbers have stayed pretty steady as far as EL, special ed students and on IEPs and gifted, and we do have 2 other students that are being evaluated, so we have our number will probably go up to the same as it was.
You said there's
last
2
year.
more being evaluated?
Yeah, it's mentioned up there. So we have 2 students currently that are going through the evaluation process to see if they qualify.
Okay,
for
so
starter.
that's these 2 on here.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we have 19 currently that have been identified. We have 2 that are being evaluated. Sandy, did you touch my stuff?
I didn't touch it.
Isn't that changing?
Okay. There we go.
There we are.
All right,
Okay.
so when we put together our school improvement plan, the first thing we do is a comprehensive needs assessment, which is done staff-wide. We do our certified staff as well as our classified staff. So we get everybody to complete that, and then we get our leadership team together. We go through, we look at the data from it, and then we also look at our site council, which includes our teachers, parents, and students. I've actually already started this for next year. I met with my site council students today. We have site council tomorrow, and we're already trying, like, we're taking the school improvement and the areas that we really want to focus on, and I went through that with the kids today, and, you know, what can we do? And when I get to that part of one of our goals, I'll tell you what we're doing with the students to help them get plugged in, and how we're going to get the parents plugged in with that as well. So again, I use both certified and our classified staff data from the state, and then our synergy discipline data. And you'll understand in a minute why we use that data, because of what our goals are. So our first SMART goal is students in the Hispanic and ESS student subgroups will score a minimum of 5% higher compared to previous year. And the reason why we focus on those groups, it sounds like we're focusing on a small population, but if you focus on that population, everything you're doing, all the interventions you're doing, all of the enrichments you're doing is for all students. So we're not just focusing on that subgroup, but we are looking at their individual education plans. We're looking at individual learning plans as well. And using our data, we've already done a Galileo and an IXL assessment. And using that data, we've already put our kids in intervention groups, which they go through every single day. So every single student on our campus goes to intervention every single day. And the kids that scored high or who are currently proficient, they're in enrichment groups. So that started about the third week of school. So we've already jumped into this. We've also started after school tutoring, which today was the first day. We've also started a homework club for the morning for those kids who need the extra help and get to school early. And we've been calling parents, lots and lots of calls to parents to get kids to the school early, to let them know about tutoring after school, and then plus all the interventions within the day. So we're doing a lot of different, mixing it up. We're not just trying one thing and hoping that works. We're trying a bunch of different things to get the kids plugged in. We're also doing homework, or what we're calling working lunches, and we're having the kids come in during lunch. We're not punishing them, so they get their lunch, they come in, they eat their lunch, it's very relaxed, and then they can work on their computers. I do the 8th grade. I'm a certified math teacher, so that's really nice, and it gives me the chance to, I get all excited, like, oh, what can I help you with? Gosh, Mrs. Davy, calm down. But yeah, so we're all of us are doing our part, and it's been kind of fun. So our next SMART goal is using our PBS strategies and engagement strategies. They will increase the amount of time spent in class. So we wanted to focus on the positive thing, which is amount in class, and in turn increase achievement scores. So we went back to Tier 1 this year. This is our second year of PBIS, but we did like a reboot at the beginning of the year. Went back through Tier 1 training with all of the students, all the staff, and really taught all of our PBIS strategies. And instead of having, it's kind of funny because office referrals are down to almost 0 because we don't send the kids to the office. If we have a kid that needs to do a reflection, we go to them. So we go to the student, we sit down with them, we might pull them off into a pod or somewhere just all, an empty classroom. We go through the reflection sheet, and then we send them back to class. And as long as they're in a place. And if I feel like a kid is not quite ready, I might sit in the class for a while, just make sure they're okay, they're settled down, they're engaged. Or if they're really elevated, we might pull them out. We go for a walk around the building for a minute. But our whole goal is to have kids in the classroom. So sending them to the office and then sitting for 10 minutes while they're waiting for me, and then in the office, and then unless they are disrupting class to a point that we can't teach, we want them in the classroom. And that's worked out, I think, a lot better. And we all have walkie-talkies we carry so we can get to them as quickly as possible because we want kids in class learning. And we've also focused every quarter on 2 engagement strategies. So we, as a staff, sat down at the beginning of the year. We decided what those 2 strategies were, and we're really focusing on those 2. The first quarter is think, ink, pair, share, which is thinking, writing, talking. And the other one is our close, make sure all of our close activities are done. So like a exit ticket type of thing. So those are the two engagement strategies that everybody is doing and everybody's focusing on. So those are our two things on that goal. And then the third one is we're really wanting to get parents engaged and really, because the more engaged the parents are, the more engaged the students are. So we schedule quarterly activities for parents to attend. Like I said, this afternoon when I went with my site council students, I even asked them, I said, we want your parents to come up here for really good things. Like, I want you guys to start telling us, talk to your parents, talk to your grandparents, you know, whoever, and what will get them to come to the school. And so our first little event is going to be what we're going to call coffee and camaraderie, and we're going to have it the day of our first assembly. So I want to invite the parents up to like maybe an hour before we have our assembly, so they can ask questions. I can tell them about what's going on. They can see the school, and then I want to invite them over to our end of quarter assembly. So, you know, get them a reason to come, and then we're also working on our ELL or a Title I, excuse me, meeting as well. But again, I'm trying to really get the kids involved and get them really excited about being an important part of our campus. So it's not just, oh, you're a student here. And I got a really interesting mix of kids on site council. They were fun to work with. And I believe I tried to embed kind of all the things we were doing into these goals. So that's kind of the end of that, but I'll take questions.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the only real feedback I have is the ASAA data was bad,
It was, which is why we really dug in.
but I really like the approach, and I mean, I think the SMART goals are something that's achievable and will make a difference. So, yeah, I think it was great.
Thank you.
I'm glad to see you're trying your best to get parents involved.
Yeah, for sure.
I've said this for the last 12 years. The parents need to care about what's going on. They need to support their students. They need to help their students. I just, you know, some kids function quite well without any adults, but I'd say 90% of them don't. And if these parents would only get involved with our schools and see the good things that are going on, I think that's really important.
I agree.
I want to echo what Sandy said. My thoughts exactly. We need to see the parents getting involved because I think that's some of the problems with our students getting engaged themselves. The parents aren't engaged, the students aren't engaged. So, yeah, very good. I hope that works for you.
Well, and I want them to have a really positive look at the school. Like, I hope they come in and they feel welcomed, and we want them there, and we want their input. That's our goal.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Matter of fact, one of the things that I wrote down here was, I just want how is the parent engagement been so far? I mean, have they
So far
seemed
this
positive
year,
about it?
I think the parents have really appreciated, like I said, we made a lot of phone calls. And it's really funny because, you know, the parents always see the school number. And the first thing I always say is, hi, this is Mrs. Davy. I'm the principal, and your child is not in trouble. and they go, oh, thank you. Because you can even hear it in their voice, like, hello. And I was like, no, really, everything's great. So-and-so is doing really well, but we have an opportunity for them, and we'd like them. And that's been really positive. A lot of parents are, oh, thank you so much. And they really appreciate, I mean, they have so many opportunities and so many different ways that the kids can get the additional help, and they really appreciate that. So that's been nice.
I'd like, as you do your principals reports, I'd like to, you know, hear how it's going each, you know, as the year goes on, if the parents are getting worn down and going, yeah, okay. Yeah, one question I had on the presentation part of it, at the table that had the demographic data and all that kind of stuff, you had down at the bottom, you said 6 teachers teaching at a time for an average of 24 classes.
So when the way our schedule is built, and our schedule is completely different, you know,
Right,
we did
I
something
remember that.
completely different, which means we have 2 groups of 6th graders, 2 groups of 7th graders, 2 groups of 8th graders at all times. So that means there's only 6 teachers teaching at a time in that
Okay.
classroom.
Oh, okay, okay.
So normally, when you have a 7, where you have kids spread out all over the place, this has been, I know that's not part of this
Right.
presentation, but this has been amazing. Like, having the schedule like this is great. The kids are more focused. We don't have as much craziness going on between classes. The kids have more time in the classes we feel they need more time in. The transitions are very short because we're done here, let's go to here, it's time to go this, there's no crossover with classes. So that's why there's only
And,
that
and
many going
yeah, I
on.
remember at the end of the year last year, you briefed us on this new schedule and how it was. And I don't know, is it like one, so in the, say, 6th grade or 8th grade, whatever it is. So does that teacher teach multiple subjects to that group?
It depends on the teacher and the grade. So
Okay.
yes, 6th grade does. 7th grade, we just have one math teacher for 7th and 8th, and one one English teacher for 7th and 8th. So it just depends on the grade
Okay.
and also just how we could hire. We did try and do that more, but it didn't work
Okay,
because
okay.
of hiring.
So, okay. Yeah, well, good. It makes sense. Hopefully that it pans out the way you anticipate it will. So
I think so. It's been really positive, and the kids seem to we haven't had
great.
any complaints.
That's good. Great. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily.
May I?
Go.
So I want to reiterate the parent involvement. And I have Parent Superintendent Council, and consistently, Vulture Peak parents show up to Parent Superintendent Council. So there are a few that have always been very involved. And so now some of them have moved on to
Yeah,
the high
they're-
school, so they
I'm
show up
so
for the
holy-
high school now. She's fed up to there. But anyway, that's been kind of nice. It's always nice when they come for that. And then I'll just say one more thing. Anne-Marie, who's sponsoring student council? Who's the student council advisor? Yeah, so it is all hands on deck there. So, okay. Thank
Okay.
you for that.
And I've
Yeah.
done it I did it for years at the high school. So, and I love doing it. It's a time, but I love working with those kids.
Great. Great. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Matt.
Okay.
Well, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm Matt. I'm probably the biggest mystery in the room tonight, but I'm sure I'll probably fade away at some point. So
Mr. Clark, have you met all our board members?
I met you at the beginning of the year, but I was not in this role. And I've met you, same thing. I have not met Susan and I have not met Randy. So,
Nice to meet you.
hey, everybody, I'm Matt Clark. I'm from Washington State. Want to be my friend?
Luncheon. I'm going, where did I meet him? It's at the luncheon.
So I'm going to go over our school improvement plan. I'm full disclosure. There's been a recent transition, as I'm sure everybody here is aware of. And so this plan was kind of already in the works when I got there. So this was more of a, I'm going to be honest with you, I kept most of the work that was done, not because I didn't want to do my own work, but there's a lot of observation and listening and just taking things in the 8 days that I've been here. And this actually, to me, was kind of a personal data piece, and I'm choosing to use it that way. I do like the things that are in here, so it's not like I'm just begrudgingly just inheriting it. But it is. I want to just have some full disclosure as I go through this presentation, nonetheless, on that part. So, with that being stated, let's move on. I'm going to go a little tiny bit out of order here, and I'm going to talk about some of the data. And I put the data first because for me, I kind of need to see the lay of the land. I came from 5 states away, and while there's a lot of similarities that I'm discovering in this position from Washington to here, Arizona also has some ways that it does it differently and all that type of stuff. So this is really a good tool for me. I also am a former coach of 26 years, and so I like stats. I like seeing trends. I don't have to worry about watching game films at 1 in the morning anymore. but I do like stats and trends nonetheless. And so that's kind of what I'm watching here. And I see the increase in the enrollment coming out of COVID in particular. I also see that they're not that far away from evidently getting water rights out in Festival and a neighborhood increase. So I kind of already have in the back of my brain. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't wrong. Sorry about that.
We live stream.
Okay. Those of you in the internet web world, I'm sorry about that. So I have the growth of the community, kind of the long range plan in mind too, as I look at this trend. The attendance rate, that was pretty pleasant to see. I like to see that our most recent one, we're currently at 91% in particular. I think anytime you're 90 and higher, that's a good number to have, certainly as your starting point. Promotion rate kind of is what it is at this point. That continues on. And then free and reduced currently at 28% right now. And at this stage, it seems to be kind of settling. So I don't anticipate we're going to go a lot higher than that, just from what I'm kind of seeing at the school. ELL students, our number is currently pretty low there. ESS students, you can see where there certainly was a jump from 2020 to 2021. And then we have kind of leveled out at this point. And we don't have any pending evaluations or students that we see that will have an IEP, short of maybe a new student that moves into the school that we just aren't aware of yet. And then our gifted students. There's our ethnicity data. Numbers that I'm always paying attention to, just because diversity is something I pay attention to. While our largest population is whites, our Hispanic and Latinos not too terribly far behind, and then we have a representation of all nationalities there. And administrators, well, ta-da, that's me. Non-certified teaching staff, currently 2. And then our certifieds, that is ticked up a little bit. And well, if the area goes the way that it seems like it will go over the years, I anticipate that that'll certainly increase. And then there's our aides. And our classroom sizes, I look at 20 for elementary, and just gauging my previous experience from Washington to here, that size looks about right to me. Once again, Arizona natives might tell me something a little different. The middle school number, 29. We are at capacity currently in our middle school, so that number really is capacity at this point. Our BHAG is we will have in place staffing systems and programs to support the classroom instruction for Tier 1, grade level reteach at Tier 2, and then below grade level intervention for Tier 3 in reading, math, and behavior. The people who went into this plan, even though all staff were invited, they are listed here, and I'm gradually making friends with those people as we go. Some of them I am not surprised are on this list just from what I've gathered over the last few days. Achievement goals. By the end of the school year, we are hoping to have a higher average proficiency rate than the state average in all grade levels in reading and math as measured by the ASAA. We hope that our total number of office referrals for the year will decrease by 15% by May 2024. Our first goal is we will have an higher average proficiency rate than the state average, and as I just stated, here's our current data that we're looking at that kind of helped get us to that point, and you can see that grades 5, 7, and 8 are highlighted in particular as key areas that stood out to us that help kind of get us to this goal. Math numbers, same thing, once again highlighted. Why it was felt that there was a need to have this type of a focus in these areas. Action steps that we're going to take. We're going to implement small group instruction, tutoring, guided reading groups, and/or one-on-one support to reteach grade level standards in these areas. We'll implement site-based professional learning communities weekly, supported by our instructional coach, to determine reteach groups' needs, strategies. Teachers will receive training in using the data to inform instruction, PLC models, and tiered systems of support. And Festival Foothills, we have added a reading and math interventionist to increase student achievement. Goal number 2, total number of office referrals for the year will decrease by 15% by May of 2024. Action steps we're looking at doing. Teachers will be trained in PBIS systems, the model, and will then eventually utilize that consistently. We'll implement monthly assemblies to celebrate the success of our students in behavior and academics. Our first one actually is going to be at the end of the month. Those are called SOAR assemblies, which I am learning about. SOAR seems to be a very good implementation from what I've gathered from it. And teachers will then participate in ongoing training based on data collected from the PBIS program. Okay, and these last couple of slides, these are some good visuals. Honestly, once again, going back to me, helps me kind of see the lay of the land a little bit, and just where what the data is really telling us, in particular with groups. And off to the left, you can see just the types of behaviors that were reported. Off to the right, the grade levels and the frequency of these referrals by grade. And another slide, just some more data, similar things, showing the same types of information. And at that point, I am definitely willing to field your questions.
Go ahead, Sandy.
Well, give me a minute to digest here. I was just looking at the grade level in the 5th graders.
5th and 8th grade.
Right, 5th and 8th grade, but the 8th grade doesn't surprise me. 5th grade surprises me that
So
they're so disruptive.
I don't know if I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to start here because this is an observation I feel good about sharing with the board. As I walk around the building and I see things that are going on, that data does not surprise me, even as a newbie, number one. But number two, I think it really plays back to our whole focus of continuing to implement PBIS strategies. And it's probably better to re-ask. Honestly, I wouldn't mind being re-asked this in October when it's my turn to give principal report, because I think I should know the answer by then. But there's a side of me where I feel like PBS has started to get implemented, but I wonder if there's just things that maybe got lost during the implementation, and are we in need of some sort of a PBIS reset, for lack of a better phrase? That's not a knock on anything. I've got a building full of well-meaning people, and I'm discovering that I also have a community of interested, well-meaning people as well that just needed an invitation. But I do kind of wonder that if that's maybe where we might be too, just the confusion part.
Yeah, I guess I just find it sad. The kids are getting younger and younger and younger that are misbehaving, and it's sad.
Life.
To me, it's just sad. Sorry.
Anything else? No? Randy?
Yeah, the only thing just kind of draws my attention here is the student to teacher ratio in the middle school groups. They're a little high there, and of course it is nothing you can directly do with it, but I'm hoping that we're looking at that at the school, more teachers or whatever else we can do to get that
Yeah.
down.
If it's okay, Mr. Hodges, I'll respond to that. Looking at we did close it for open enrollment, so we're not accepting any open enrollment students in the 6th and 7th grade, if I'm correct, in 2 of the middle school levels. And then when we determine whether a new teacher is needed, we look at a grade band. And we did approve a position for a paraprofessional, which hasn't been hired yet. And we have struggled with hiring the teachers that we need out there. So yes, there's positions open out there, not another certified teacher in that area, but a paraprofessional to support that. Because it is within our class size allotment for our budget. So, and we look at the grade band. You know what I mean? We don't look at, once you get to, if it's 30-1, once you get to 31, you don't get another teacher, but if the grade band is big. So then we put additional support in there through a paraprofessional. So, but again, no new open enrollments we close that for open enrollment down there to help support that.
Yeah, very
And
good.
enrollment has been stable the last few weeks. Like, I think your enrollment stabilized quicker than some of the other ones in town. So hopefully we've seen, we're not going to see a huge influx of new students. There's no new housing projects out there right now. There's not much for sale out there. So the likelihood of numbers coming up, right? So anyway, that's a long answer to, yes, we've looked at it and trying to offer some support there.
And I would like to kind of add to that. I think Dr. Remendidi and just working with me in this position, that's been a really good relationship, and supported is definitely a word that I would have at the top of the list of our discussions. But I just couldn't help, and maybe I was cheating, because we have had Festival Foothills on our, my wife and I have had Festival Foothills on our radar since 2012. So this whole thing is a long time coming for us. I've made enough trips to kind of have wonderings about the community, and in particular, you know what, oftentimes those type of communities, there are peoples that want to jump in some way, shape, or form. I have discussions with my in-laws, full disclosure, and they're doing nothing to deter my suspicions as I tell you that. And so we do have needs, but I'm a big believer in, you know, we're going to try and help ourselves too, and we are actively doing that. I am up to 15 phone calls and appointments that I have made and set up with people around the community. In a couple of cases, people know that they are eventually moving here permanently, and have kind of sought me out as well to like, okay, hey, where can we plug in some volunteers? In some cases, I've got a couple of substitute candidates on my desk that used to be in the profession. And I've got a couple of coaching things, which I'll save that piece for October, because I want to come back and address the 5th and 8th thing is kind of sad, because I have one more thing I want to add to that, because that's, you're not wrong. But we're trying to help ourselves actively and, well, rapidly. And I'm going to stop there, because I think ultimately people just need, I'm not a huge talker. I'd rather just people watch. But that is something that's going on. Nextdoor is a powerful tool, ladies and gentlemen, if you weren't sure about that. And that community likes Nextdoor, evidently. So I'm going to come back to yours real quick, and I'm going to save this for October. Athletic director is something that I have done in the past. That has been all 28 of my, well, this all 28 years of my career, now going on 29. That has been a passion. And I put clubs, choirs, bands, even though those weren't my wheelhouse, to me, all this lumps together. That being said, when I look at some of the discipline data, PBI reset, and let's refocus or revisit that, refocus it. But also when you plug kids into things, I've lived this for 28 years. I've seen it as a teacher, I've seen it as an admin, and I was a head coach for basketball and tennis for almost all those years. I mean, I've lived the power of sports and how that trickles to everything. And I'm going to stop there, but that is in my radar. I've ran an entire large high school athletic department, and I have some noodlings on how I think we could scale something down to plug kids into something, whether it's hoops or baseball, or you know what, maybe a teacher wants to have a Lego club, because kids dig Legos. And we're going to have a day after school where we do things with Legos. But that stuff has a funny way of, oh man, well, I want to be in this, so I better not get in trouble in class. Or man, I got to go to that game. I got to pass my classes,
Right.
you know, and things like that. So
I definitely agree with that. I do think you also have an advantage with the two sides of festival. You know, you have the side of festival where the kids are coming from, and then probably both parents are working and blah, blah, blah. Then you have the other side with the retirees who probably have all kinds of skills and would make great volunteers.
You're reading my mind. That's what I'm counting
I do
on,
have the
Sandy.
SP.
Yeah,
So
I
be
can
careful.
tell. It must be why you got elected to the school board. No, yeah, no, I 100% agree with you, all joking aside. And I think honestly, there are people that are dying. They just wanted an invitation. I'm more worried about am I responding to it fast enough so they realize I wasn't blowing smoke. And so far, well, my Thursday's calendar is filling up pretty good. I got 7 on the books so far, so hopefully that'll spread the vibe that I was for real.
Great.
Yeah, once the snowbirds start showing up, you'll start have more that will volunteer.
I'm jumping way ahead and I'm probably hogging time and it's the new guy, so that's okay. You know, I can be coached off to the side after the
Susan?
fact. I think,
yeah.
oh, shoot, I cut off a school member. No, go ahead.
Do you have something else you want to add?
No, I'm going to let you talk first.
No, I just wanted to say welcome. We're glad to have you. We're very excited of how excited you are to be here and how excited you are to be in this position. So I'm happy to see what you can do this year. So welcome.
I'm counting on the snowbirds maybe I have a tutoring idea that I think if I get enough volunteers, that's kind of my sneaky way of hopefully helping the reading and math achievement.
I know at the end of the year, last year, Corby had briefed us on a plan for, I guess it was like a tutoring group. I know Ron was going to do math tutoring or something like that. Did that get us established?
Yes, Ron, that is part of his schedule. He does math tutor.
Okay.
Matter of fact, him and I had a conversation today about that and just kind of my views on that, which that is a need. That is a position I want to see thrive and continue.
Okay.
And just kind of how that related to our Friday PD, especially in the afternoon piece. So yes, that is alive and well, and
Okay.
I have no desire to deter that.
Yeah, okay. No, I just remembered that was briefed by another person, so I just wanted to see if that, got into the plan, so.
Okay.
Okay. I don't have anything else. Do you have anything?
No, I don't.
All right.
Okay, thank you very
Matt,
much.
thanks a lot.
You?
Welcome. Okay, and he just walked in. He's up.
Starting now then?
They see me.
Should be working.
Well, first of all, let me just say good evening, Dr. Mendini, members of the board. Thanks for having us here this evening to present on the Wickenburg High School and Wickenburg Virtual Academy's school improvement plans. Make sure I got this right here, how we're doing this. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the Wickenburg High School plan, then I'll have Ms. Peterson come up and she'll talk some about our Virtual Academy School, and then at the end we can have questions for both, or I can stop in between and we can do it that way, whatever you choose to have as far as our direction goes. You probably noticed as you were looking at the plan from this year that it looks awful similar to what we had in place last year, because our goals did not change significantly. We are continuing to work on the same things, trying to make those improvements in those areas, because we feel like those are those that will make the greatest impact as we move forward. As on a personal level, my goal for us on my BHAG is that all students graduate. I think that's what we're here for as a high school, that every kid that walks through the doors in the halls of Wickenburg High School walks out as a graduate. We're not there. And that, as well as the mission that I have in place for us preparing all kids for 30, there's a steep hill there to get to that point, but that gives us plenty to work on along the way. Just a little bit about some of our demographics. Our numbers are down a little bit from last year. We are down about 20 students. 19, I guess, is the number up there at the time that we did this count back in August. Our free and reduced numbers are up. We're at 42% versus the 32% that we had last year. That number, again, is probably higher today because there are continued counts and continued submissions for that. Those that were involved with the development of our plan were through our promo team, which I've listed here. I won't go through all of their names, but also then our site council. Our promo team started with our comprehensive needs assessment, which is again, something that we give it to our department members. They go out into our school. They work with their individual teams of teachers, gather feedback, input on that. Then they come back with the scores for those, and we use those scores to then, again, build that comprehensive needs assessment. We also looked at our school data from last year, the year before, and this past year, so 22 and 23. And then we utilized all of that to build what is our plan for this year. Some of our state data that came back last year, we had 2 different groups that were tested. Our freshmen were tested and our juniors were tested. Our freshmen took ACT Aspire, and I'm not sure if it's reflecting on yours, but you can see the areas that are in green. Our numbers did go up when they were green. They went down where they were red. And as we look at our freshmen last year, they scored slightly higher than our freshmen did the year before. When we look at our juniors that tested, they had one area that was higher, that was English, and the other areas were down. And they were in reading, math, and science. So one of the things that we definitely needed to continue to do is work on that academic side, that intervention side, and that's where our focus is when it comes to our school improvement plan. So when we look at the goals that we've set, our goals are to reach state averages or exceed state averages in those tested areas on ACT and on ACT Aspire. And obviously we had a dip last year. We are working hard right now in classes as well as through some intervention opportunities that we have to try to regain what we've lost, and also to excel beyond that and get into that area again where we are approaching and surpassing state averages. You know, of course, every year we test, it's kind of like apples to oranges a little bit when we test. The kids that we tested as juniors 2 years ago weren't the same kids we tested last year. And so they all come with strengths and areas that we need to work on. So part of what we have to do every year is analyze where that is and identify what the needs are. So in doing so, as we address that need that we have here in our school, one of the areas that we really were struggling in, I felt, was reading, because I feel reading affects our writing and our writing affects our reading. And so as a district, we adopted Step Up to Writing last year. We have embedded that in all of our classes across our school. So every teacher was trained in Step Up to Writing, not just at our high school, but at all of our schools. But that is a focus that we have within those contents and within our PLCs. So our English, our science and social studies, our electives and CTE teams, our exceptional student services teams, they're working on a content goal, but they're also working on how to improve writing in their content, how to incorporate reading strategies into their content. So when they meet as a PLC on a weekly basis, they're running data cycles through looking at what they want kids to be able to write about or read about, and how are they going to help support that process through the activities that they do in their classroom. We also then have some other more targeted interventions that are happening. We've built in 2 intervention advisory periods that we are using on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Wednesday is specifically intervention. There's intervention at our freshman and sophomore levels at an ELA, which is our Step Up to Writing. So there's a lesson that's been developed by our ELA teachers that every teacher that has one of those groups is working on with their kids during that time. We have math teachers, though, that are working in parallel with them. And again, our target is to try to support those kids that are in algebra and geometry, because that's where we're struggling in math, getting them prepared for that junior year. So we're pulling kids out of those classes that are ELA and Step Up to Writing taught classes. And those are targeted, specific, in 3-week windows that we pull them. So if I decided that these 6 kids were going to need to come to me in my math class, I identify, I let those teachers know, and those 6 come to me for six class periods where I'm giving them support in math, targeted to something specific that they need support in. The rest then stay behind and they're working on that writing process, that reading process. Then in 3 weeks, those kids go back, we reset, and a new group can come out, or it can be similar kids, it can be a mix. So we're doing that in our, again, our advisory / intervention. That is incorporated in with some advisory type lessons though, because we need to have time for our counselors to get in and do some work. We need to have time for kids to get some, do some things like reflect on where their grades are. We're using that time for that as well. Or to make up homework. There's an opportunity for them to do that along the way too. So there's a few others that are worked in there as well. But that's what we're doing at our junior, our sophomore and freshman level. At our junior level, we purchased ACT Prep through Zello, and it's incorporated into that houses our ECAPs. And so kids can log in. There are, I couldn't tell you how many lessons there are that are specific to the types of problems that they're going to see on ACT as a junior. Gives them a chance to practice those problems. When they get them wrong, there's an explanation on how to go about solving it, a video that they can watch. Teachers that then have those students are able to monitor their progress, go in there and see that. Our math teachers can see that as well, so they're able to see where kids are doing well and not doing well when it comes to math. ELA teachers can do the same thing, so it's not even just those teachers with those specific students, those juniors during that time, that can use that data. There are 3 full ACT tests that are built into it, so we could have a 4-hour sit down, take a practice ACT with them, and those are some things that we're looking at possibly doing down the road, though we can over-test kids sometimes too, so we want to be careful with that. So those are some of the things that we're doing with, again, those kids that are tested. Now, our seniors who also have to have a place during that time, we decided that it would be great to expose them to some financial literacy programming so they can kind of learn about how money can work for them, how to save, do some of those things that would be important to them as they're transitioning out of our high school and into college or the working world. So they, during that time, are, again, doing either the financial literacy piece, reflecting on, knowing what their grades are, reflecting on how they're going to improve on those, or doing getting some support homework-wise. So those 3 elements are going on with them. We also have a few embedded courses that I think are going to help. One, we identified some of our incoming freshmen that we felt would need intervention support. So not only are they taking their algebra class, but there's a parallel class running with that algebra class where they're getting extra help. And it's all around math intervention, supporting them in that Algebra 1 class. For those that maybe didn't do so well and struggled last year, we have another class that's set up that's just for those kids that are juniors, possibly taking a freshman level class, not a good fit sometimes. It's smaller for them, and they're able to get that support because they've already been struggling in that, and the teacher knows that, and we've again built in some supports within that class. Our instructional coach, Megan, is going in and working with all of our teachers, specifically targeting new, but also anyone that needs that extra help. She's the one teaching one of our math classes this year, so she's got that algebra class that's got kids that are in there taking it as a repeat and giving them that extra support in that course. So she's reported back really loving that, enjoys it, has found some good success, and thinks kids are doing well. So we're excited where that could lead us to. Now, our second goal is around parent-guardian community involvement, our engagement goal, and some things that we want to do. Well, first of all, our goal is to increase by 5% from the fall survey, parent survey, to the spring survey. We know that can be a challenge just due to timing. Fall, maybe we're a little bit more, we're happy with where things are, and it's been a long year come spring. So we're not sure how that'll play out again this year, but that's still a goal, and we still can get good feedback from that. Our goal is that it's 5% higher. Some of the things we're trying to do to get parents notified and involved include just creating opportunities, events, having things out there for parents to get involved with, the community to become involved with. Some that we did last year was, and we're continuing to do them this year, of course, is the like this week we have homecoming. So we have events that are going on before homecoming starts that parents, families can come out and become and get involved with. But there's also the game. There are different things that are happening each night this week. In October, we're doing Love Your Schools Day again, which we'd love to get parents out for that. Community members have come out the last couple that we've done. We want to make sure we're communicating things out with them. So I've told our counseling department, our office, we're trying to over communicate, get an extra, email out there, or get an extra advertisement out there for things that are happening across our campus. We do have monthly email or monthly newsletters, our Wrangler News that goes out. Counseling has a similar one that goes out from their department. And then in between that, there's usually one or two that go out a week, just that are more informational, time sensitive. We sent it out 3 weeks ago, and now we want to make sure you get a reminder on it. We have some opportunities that our counselors have built in that support kids as well as the families. Some examples of that are the planning for college, where they'll have an evening where they can go in and fill out their FAFSA, which is the application that they fill out to get financial support when they apply for colleges. So they have some opportunities for parents to come in and get that. And of course we have our awards and our end of the year evenings and things like that. But we're looking at creating more of those sorts of opportunities for families. Our last goal is in career planning, our ECAP. And as I mentioned, ECAP is the program that we house or have that we use Zello for. All of the ECAP elements are housed in that. Our goal is that 100% of our students are completing their ECAP, and there's different ECAP jobs, I guess, responsibilities at every grade. So we want them, again, completing those by the end of the year, so that they're prepared to, again, go from freshman to sophomore, sophomore to junior, and then eventually our seniors to transfer out and have completed everything that they would need to be completers when it came to our ECAP. Our counseling is key to that. They're the ones that are going in, they're working with kids around courses, what they need, again, giving them that support around applying for colleges. They provide the lessons that are taught, again, in the courses. In the past, we have used our classes, just a class to go in and do this in, but now that we have these advisories built, as those things happen, we can embed them into those advisories so that they're not actually having to pull from course time as well. One of the keys that I feel like that we're going to have this year is our JAG program. JAG exposes kids to careers, to jobs that are out there, gets them in touch with adults that are working in that world, gets them excited about a career, and then challenges them to get that education, to graduate from high school, and then if it means going beyond that, to get to that point. And we took a huge step, I felt like, last year, and I'm continuing to see that happen this year, and I'm anticipating great things from them too. And when we look at that, that's 20 to 25 kids from our junior class and our senior class. That's a quarter of the students in our school. They're just getting those experiences in that one class. So I think that's a tremendous boost and something that will help us this year as well as long term. Let's see. If I skipped any of those, I think I hit most of them. That ends my part for Wickenburg High School. You have questions for me before Colleen comes? No, I know you do.
Okay. Randy?
Yeah, one thing I've got, the parent survey.
Yeah.
When does that go out for the fall?
So the fall survey, I just saw the email. It may be getting bumped to October, but here's the thing. We are in the middle of our accreditation process. So our current accreditation ends this coming summer, so we have to go through the reaccreditation process, and part of that is surveying our stakeholders. So we've already sent out surveys to staff.
Okay.
We had almost 400 students do a survey for us, and we've sent surveys out to parents that are already back. So aside from the district's survey that they're doing, we're getting similar data back on those specific questions at least, and we're already analyzing that. So
Yeah, I would like to really see the results and the number of participants for the parent surveys for, the specifics that we were talking here, the
Yeah.
comparison of the fall and the spring. So I love to, you talked about JAG, part of the career planning. I think that's one of the number one things we're going with, and the what do you call it, the financial
financial literacy.
literacy one.
Yeah.
I like that too, because I see too many kids out there trying to be cashiers at places I go to, and
Right.
boy, if they didn't have a cash register or computer in front of them, they wouldn't be able to figure out anything. So I like that financial literacy for a lot.
Yeah, it's important that they see how money can work for them, but to make it work for them, you've got to be able to earn that money too, and be able to put some aside. So, looking at it from that bigger picture can help them. And it's hard because we've all been high school students, and we know it's all about the now, not about 30, 40 years from now. So that's a hard one. I was there too, and
I know just on the news this last week, there was some questions going on, parents asking the news team, and then having an expert come in and talk about what age that start teaching the value of money and that to kids. And it was a lot younger than what I had thought.
Yeah.
But we need it bad, real bad.
yeah.
Good. All right, that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sandy?
Well, I was gonna say that, the financial, because I think that's really important. Because I don't think, unless you have parents who are good with money and can kind of guide you, I just think kids really need that piece. Especially with, just send it with Zello, send it with this, send it with that, charge it here, do whatever. I don't, we're going to be a society where there is no actual money, and I don't think kids get the concept. I mean, if they had $100 in their hand and had to spend it and do things, it would make a big difference if they could actually see it. So I think this is really great. My other thing is, listening to you, it sounds like parents are being told about events, things that are going on. So it really bothers me when people get on social media and makes my hair rise.
Yep.
But, we didn't know about that program. We didn't know about this. We didn't know about that.
Today it was FFA.
Today
I
it
saw
was
that.
That was
the
on the news.
FFA, I heard. So obviously some of them, I think some of the FFA comments were coming from those that don't have students any longer in school. And obviously this is only our second year running an FFA program. So if you had somebody in school 4 years ago, you may not know that we have an FFA program. And yeah, we probably could have had one 4 years ago, or would have been a great ad, but it wasn't here. So
Right.
So it is now. It's tough because as many times as maybe you try to get the information out, it doesn't go to everyone. It doesn't always, it's not that email that maybe gets clicked open and looked at closely, or, there's,
I know we have articles in the newspaper and things like that. I don't know, do we have a little section that gives what's going on, in the newspaper?
How many people, what's the distribution on the newspaper nowadays? Yeah,
Social media with the Wickenburg Unified School District website.
yeah, that.
Yeah, but
is
obviously
more likely
they're not
than
reading
newspapers,
those,
but, yeah.
so, I don't know, but it bothers me if we are getting things out there that people are saying we aren't getting things out there. Just my pet peeve.
Understand.
Hey, Susan, you have anything?
No.
No? Only thing I have, you were talking about the parent engagement and they coming in, you had the thing for filling out the paperwork for college and all that kind of stuff.
FAFSA, or, yeah,
Huh?
the FAFSA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It-
college nights.
Do you have a similar type program planned for those parents of children that don't plan to go to college, that they're looking for, but where you can get information out, like, okay, well, there's apprenticeships over here and this thing over here and, different types of things like that
Sure.
for non-college bound students?
Well, that's probably a great idea to incorporate. We don't have something like a night that we've done that, but we
Yeah.
do have where we'll have internships and apprenticeships that are available. Usually it's goes to a kid who might be involved in one of our CTE programs. So if they're in those programs, they are getting fed information that could help them
Yeah.
guide
Right.
down that path.
Or your JAGs guys? or
And
something,
JAG has their own. We have a job board. If you walk down G Hall in the transition there's a JAG has one of the newly painted and updated displays, and which came from our Love Your Schools last year. And so they've put they gather information around jobs, upcoming career fairs. They go to every career fair I think that the town has, just to let them explore them. We have other kids that join JAG and go down with them too, though. So
Yeah.
it's not just even JAG. We allow a few to be adopted JAG members
Yeah.
for some of those.
But I just was saying maybe, you had a night where you bring parents in with the kids and you talk about, this kid's interested in whatever. And so there's, this is a training program and this is your, apprenticeship and,
Yeah.
whatever else, like for plumbing or electrical or, that type of stuff that has that stepped.
Yep.
Kind of, that was just a question if you had that, that's all. You have anything?
I don't.
No?
Okay.
All right. Well, I'll invite.
She get
Miss
back, there
Peterson,
she is.
come on up.
Okay, Colleen's back.
Stay in case there's questions at the end too.
Good evening. I'm much shorter than Mark, our smaller population. So I am quicker and smaller. Yes. So our BHAG for WVA aligns with the high school that all students graduate. And so it's a little bit more challenging in the demographics that we're working with this year, in the sense that as we've moved away from the pandemic, our student population has gone back to the more traditional type of online students, in the sense that several of our students who weren't successful in traditional face-to-face instruction are trying online. And so when we started looking at that and we were looking at our data from last year, we decided that things that we've tried before weren't getting us the results that we wanted, so we wanted to try something different. So this year we're implementing a block schedule for our high school courses. And so Mark and I sat down and we talked about what that would look like for our online students. And so because we can control the start and end dates for those courses, what we're doing is we're balancing the loads for students. So they still take the 6 traditional courses, semesters that they would in an 18-week, 19-week session, but they're doing 3 in 9 weeks, completing the entire course with the same pacing that they would have in 18 weeks to align with the high school, but they're doing it in 9 weeks, take those finals, go on fall break, and then do 3 more courses. And so they'll still end up with the same number of credits at the end of the semester. It's just how they're doing the work looks differently, and our goal really with that was, can we get more in depth with their learning? Can they go deeper into the curriculum and the standards when they have fewer courses to focus on in that 9-week time period? And so we as a staff looked at, okay, let's not put math and English together because we know those are the 2 areas that students really struggle with. So we looked at balancing what classes they would take within that 9-week period to try and provide them with the best chance of succeeding and really grasping the curriculum at a deeper level. So we implemented that this year, and that's been yet to be determined. So we've been tracking it very closely. We've looked at how many courses last year and what was the percentage that passed Algebra 1, and now we're going to look at, okay, how many passed Algebra 1 in our block. And so we're tracking that very closely to see, even in this first block, can we already see success. And then our advisory and our internship, those are still semester-long courses to provide continuity because kids are working. Our online students overwhelmingly have jobs to a certain degree, so internship ties into their electives very easily. And then advisory, we are using Zello, the same with the high school, doing the college and career readiness, and how Mr. Alexander brought up with students who aren't college bound. The Zello program really allows students to dive in and look at different career pathways outside of the traditional college program. So through Zello, our students have the opportunity to do that as well. And then our second big goal had to do with professional development. So we have 4 full-time teachers, and 2 of them are new to online instruction this year. And so it's super important for them to understand how students learn differently as an online student and how do we connect with them. And so we've got to implement PD that Edgenuity, our provider, allows us. We have PD that we can implement. We did one at the beginning of the year. We'll do another one November, December, depending how our PD calendar looks, and then ongoing me meeting with those teachers. Okay, these are best practices for being an online instructor, and how can you connect with those kids, not just with the curriculum, but just as a teacher to student when they're not sitting in front of you. And then I was talking to Debbie earlier about attending conferences and webinars and finding free things out there that our teachers can, or me and then share with our teachers, can get plugged into. I'm also a member of the Arizona Online Consortium, and that is a huge wealth of resources to utilize for online learning. They're all the online schools, exclusive online schools in Arizona, and we share resources and trends and things like that. So that's been helpful as well. And so looking at our data, I don't know if that was part of your program. So you can see our numbers in our ACT and our ACT Aspire testing. Our percentages went down considerably between 2022 and 2023. Our testing numbers also went down as well. So that was very discouraging when Mark and I looked at that. And so we're looking at, like, what can we do with the block scheduling? What can we do with intervention? We've implemented some things where when a student fails a quiz or a test after the 2 attempts, they have to meet with our lab coach or the teacher for intervention and remediation before they can move on to that. They have to produce notes in all core areas at the end of each unit, demonstrating that they have looked at the material, taken notes on the materials, and not just click through it. So we're trying different strategies to get our online students to engage more with the curriculum, in the intent that that's going to transfer when we test in the spring, that they have a deeper understanding of the curriculum. So, any questions?
Good.
No, I don't have any questions. I think it sounds cool.
Sandy?
No, not really. I mean, the kids, even though they're virtual, I mean, they can come in, they can get help, they can speak with the teacher, they
Absolutely.
can do all these things. So do they avail themselves of those opportunities?
So, not as much as we would like to see. And if you've met Kaylee or Viviana, who work in our office, they are on the phone daily. Through GoGuardian, Kaylee is chatting the students as they're working online. We are constantly in their presence as much as they allow us to be. And we're starting, as the year has progressed, to get more students to come into the lab to answer emails back to us for parents to respond back. But probably the first 4 weeks, it was radio silence. So as students are getting more comfortable and don't see us as a threat or as a, why are they always harassing me, and more of a, okay, they're here to help me, I feel like we'll continue to build on that.
Because you can, I mean, can you tell whether these kids are actually online?
Yes, we
Okay.
can. During our school hours, obviously, like,
Right.
we're not checking them at 9 o'clock at night, but we can see when they do work at 2 a.m. in the morning, we can go back and look at their sessions logs. But to communicate with them, if they're on at home and they're on a school profile, we can communicate right throughout the day with them anytime we want to during school hours.
Yeah, I like to hearing that you and Mark got together right away. Look at the percentage rate going down. I think the engagement is probably the biggest thing right now. Because I think, you know, a lot of these kids, they probably think, okay, I'm virtual. I got anytime I want to do this, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, there has to be, I don't know, something that we need to say, okay, hey, if you're not going to engage like you're supposed to back in the school.
Right. And we do have those policies in place and communicating with the parents and saying, this is not what's best for your student from 4th grade all the way through 12th grade. We're constantly looking at that. And, you know, I was super excited because we had a 100% test rate last spring. And I thought, oh, this is going to be great. Everybody tested. And I was like, whoa, what happened with our test results? And so it made us look hard at, like, test results are not the end all to be all, but they are a good pulse check. So it's like, okay, we're going to do something different. And our 4th through 8th graders, you know, we've got some things where we're working with online tutoring that they can get help right there with the Edgenuity curriculum, where they can get a live chat tutor immediately when they're in the middle of their lesson, extended hours throughout the weekend. So we're trying.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. The only question I did have two questions. One of them, the 9-week block, is that equivalent to one semester?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Right.
It's what I thought but I thought I understood when you were going through and saying it was a year, and wait a minute, that's pretty tight. Okay. On your enrollment,
Yes.
it showed you had 58 students, and then your demographic data added up to
Yes.
67.
Yes. So when you pull the demographic data from Synergy, it includes any student that's a concurrent enrollment. So if they're a full-time high school student and they're
Okay.
taking one class with us, that gets pulled into the demographic data. And so it skews those numbers. So we have
Yeah.
58 true WVA students and then additional concurrent enrollment students.
Right. Great. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Taking my math, weren't you?
no, well, I just looked at it and I went, wait a minute,
Yeah.
this doesn't add up. So,
Yes,
yeah.
correct.
Okay.
You're right. It doesn't add up.
Right. All right. But now the real question, main question was the 9-week thing. So, okay.
And that's just for our high school students. Our 4th through 8th graders are still doing a traditional semester-long pacing for their courses.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it sounds encouraging.
Yeah.
Glad to see.
I
Glad
wanted
to
to
see how it turns out at the end of the year.
Me too. I'm optimistic. We were talking about parent engagement. So I just wanted to give a shout out to our WVA parents. Last year we had 0 attend open house, and this year we had 6 attend open house. So we got some parent engagement.
Small steps.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Well, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Did
I
you
look
have-
forward to the data on the block schedule, because 6 classes for a high school students probably working independently is a lot. And it's a long time for to get behind and not be able to get caught up. And you know that better than anybody. So I'm hoping, I think it's going to be better.
You know, I
Sounds
had
good.
one other addition there, and basically the whole thing back with the parent engagement and the surveys and that 5% is going to be hard to hit if, you know, the fall, we have maybe just a handful of parents, and then, you know, we had twice that much, boy, we go way over that 5%, you know, for the fall, or for the spring. So that's why I really want to see those numbers of what that is going to be all about.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
What do you think? 5, 10 minutes?
Yeah, 5-minute break. But
5 minutes.
okay.
Okay, let's take 5. And,
All right.
we'll crank it up. Yeah, okay.
Oh, I should have gotten another one.
Okay, call the meeting to order for 19 September 2023 for the regular school board meeting. Will you join me with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we get adoption of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda for the September 19th, 2023 as submitted.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, recognitions and proclamations, and we'll start with Susan.
All right. I have a proclamation to read for Legendary Teacher Day. Whereas the governing board of the Wickenburg Unified School District believes we have all had special teachers that made a significant difference in our lives, and whereas the Wickenburg Unified School District Governing Board recognizes that those teachers demonstrated unique skills allowing them to transform their deep content knowledge into life-changing student learning, and whereas the Wickenburg Unified School District Governing Board highly values the caring family culture created by those teachers, and whereas the Wickenburg Unified School District Governing Board understands that we often do not fully understand and recognize the profound influence teachers have on our future until we have lived our future, and whereas the Wickenburg Unified School District Governing Board realizes the importance of taking time to fully recognize the legendary teachers in our lives. Now, therefore, I, Susan Webster, on behalf of President Joe Malio and the entire Wickenburg Unified School District Governing Board, do hereby proclaim September 28th, 2023 as Legendary Teacher Day. We encourage our entire community to take time on this day and contact the legendary teachers in your lives and express your gratitude for the difference they made in your life.
Okay, thank you. Anything else that you would like to bring up?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Okay. Sandy.
Yes. I would like to recognize that Christina Gill received the APS Supply My Classroom grant from APS, and APS notified me, and so I was there to see her excitement and shock at receiving the award. And it was also really pretty special because the whole crew came, and so it was the crew and the supervisor and Jessie, who's the materials lady. They all took a picture with Mrs. Gill and her students, and so she's applied for that for many, many years, and so she was super excited to get it this year.
Very nice.
Awesome.
Cool.
Okay. That's it? Anything else?
I won't take everything.
Oh, okay. Randy?
Yeah, I'd like to make recognition of our board president's birthday today. Got another year older.
That's right.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday. Welcome to Medicare.
No response from Joe?
Not yet.
Did you have
That's all
anything
I
else?
got. That's all I got.
Okay, yeah. And I just want to recognize all the work that went in to getting this school year off to a start. A lot of effort went in ahead of time, and then as school's trying to get settled down, all the work that they've done to get on the road to another year.
Yeah, I just have a couple of things. I do want to thank the governing board for declaring September 28th as Legendary Teacher Day. It's very exciting to me that we can, in a small way, recognize teachers that are currently teaching our students, but also our teachers in our past. I wrote an article for the newspaper about my 3 legendary teachers, and one of them is no longer with us, but I do actually catch up with two of them almost every single time I go to my hometown, and one of them is my VOAG FFA teacher, and I see him at breakfast at least every time I go back to Deming. So just making sure that we recognize our teachers in a small way, whether they're currently teaching or not. So thank you for that proclamation. I do want to recognize the work that went into our school improvement plans that were presented tonight. Our principals presented them, but you could tell that almost our entire teaching staff and support staff go into planning how we're going to meet the needs of students. And I think, I hope that you were as impressed as I was with the innovative ideas that our schools have come up with for meeting the needs of our students. I get a little choked up when I talk about everything we do to try to make life better for our kids. And it's just been tough for a lot of them academically, socially, emotionally. So I'm just really happy that we're able as a leadership team to support them. And then I just was going to say happy birthday, Mr. Malio. So those are my things.
And I second, I think the effort that put into those student improvement plans for this year, you could just see all of the effort put into it and all of the names of the people that were listed in each one of those plans. It's a lot of work, and we really appreciate it, I think, as a board, because we don't get to be there every day and see all the hard work they do, and it all looks like really great plans.
Okay. All right. No call to the public. I don't see any public hiding behind the podium or anything, so I guess we're good with that. Okay, then on to the consent agenda. Does anybody need to have anything pulled from the consent agenda? Okay. Then can we get a motion?
Yep.
To approve.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda items for September 19th, 2023 as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Action items, then, first thing up is our Miss Erin Johnson with her, it's present with us today for the financial report.
Good evening, members of the board. Superintendent, thank you for having me. Board financials in front of you, just to paint a clear picture where I thought we would be. I told you that I would expect to see our financials tick up in August as compared to July now that we're rolling, and we definitely have done that. Our percentage of our budget spent is a little bit less than last year, but we also have a greater budget this year. So we actually have spent more in M&O, which is to be expected since we gave salary increases to our staff, and also just the cost of goods and services have also increased. Same thing in capital. Expenses are up over last year. We are starting to get some of those projects going and starting to see some of those invoices get paid. So we are where I would expect us to be at this point in the year. Our budget balances are positive. We are in compliance, and there are no surprises to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the financial reports?
I move to approve the financial reports.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No opposed. Okay. The first reading of our policy on medicines administering and, administering medicines to students. Any discussion or anything on that particular policy?
Mr. Alexander, if I may, I will point out that this policy was slightly amended from what ASBA sent us as an advisory to meet the requirements for law. We made a couple of changes in that we're increasing the number of required personnel to be available should we need them to administer some of these medications. At this time, we are not stocking most of the medications listed in here, but the policy is written so that if we choose to in the future, we won't have to go back and re-adopt the policy. Right now, students do carry inhalers for breathing issues, and we do stock Narcan at our high school, but none of the rest of them do we stock. But we will participate in the seizure training. So just kind of preparing for the future.
Okay. And this doesn't require a motion or a vote. Any items for future agendas? Anybody? I guess, are you gonna do the legislation thing next time, Susan?
Yes, and Barbara and I already talked about that, so I'll give an overview of the law conference and the legislative session in our next board meeting.
Did you have something, Sandy?
Well, we talked about items for future agendas, and I don't know, again, you know, because I get upset at social media, I wonder how we address it without, you know, I personally don't make comments back, even though I know they're wrong. I mean, how do we answer it?
May I ask a question? Would you like a presentation on best practices for members of the leadership team, including the governing board, to respond to social media? Or are you asking for information about how we use social media? Like, is it everything?
Not how we use it.
Okay,
How it's being used against us.
okay.
We've had several occasions, I believe, that, you know, it's been brought up that we did not respond to certain situations if in a timely manner, and I think we need to go over some of that stuff. I know another thing I want to do is throw it at the board members should be taking care of these type things. But yeah, I think maybe we need some type of put together or look at some type of guideline or something that maybe we need to do better with handling social media events. I think we had a couple in the last month or so that you know.
Those are just wrong.
Was that?
Just wrong.
Well,
Right.
they are, but you know, and it's either we're not responding fast enough to it, or have to get something out. And like I said earlier, when we talked discussion about social media, that we need to use our Wickenburg Unified School District website as a means of you know, getting the information out, because it appears people don't pay attention to emails, things like that. They rather communicate with social media.
Yeah, and I just want to mention, so part of what I'll go over as my law conference overview are some guidelines for the school board, and I can share the documents with you guys on, I actually attended a session specifically about the legality of social media and board members.
Good.
So I can share that with all of you guys. I just got the link to the packet with all the presentations a couple days ago. So I'll share that with all of you guys as far as, you know, kind of how the district responds to that. I think, Barbara, we can have something to discuss that as well.
Sounds like a good topic for next.
Sounds like a good idea. Okay. Announcements and calendar, you have those here. Pretty much good information to have. I believe that's it. So, anything else? The next item?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, one of you has to second it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Was it stereo?